Hey everyone, this is Sean Ray, and today we're going to be going over what house hacking is and how you could take advantage of it. Hey guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be going over what house hacking is, how you can take advantage of it, my personal story in house hacking, and then lastly, why it is so important for you to know these things. Alright, so let's jump right into it. So what is house hacking? House hacking basically means that you buy a house that is maybe a little too big for you. Maybe you're a single person or you're a couple that's just getting started out, and you buy like a 3 or 4 bedroom house and it's maybe $300,000. Now that $300,000 house might cost you $2,000, $2,200 a month, depending on how, like if you put 3-5% down, maybe more, whatever, it doesn't matter. But you're like, man, my apartment for just me and my partner was only $1,500. Now I'm spending $2,000 to $2,500 a month after bills and everything. I can't really afford that. But because you got a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom house, maybe whatever, 3-bedroom house, you can rent out the other 2 or 3 rooms. So say for instance, you and your best friend, you get together and you say, hey, I'm going to put everything into this house. It's going to be a nice house. I'm not going to put a lot of renovations into it. That's a different thing. That's called a burst strategy, which we'll go to in a different video. But if you're just focusing on the house hacking, then your friends come and tour the property with you, and then everyone that's involved in the scenario is like, this home is in a great location, we love the way it looks, and it's gonna be badass. We're gonna have like a bunch of parties here, it's gonna be a lot of fun. You sell them on the idea. And so then everyone pitches in. Now you could even do like a little turbocharged version of house hacking, and say for instance everyone is really excited about that exact house that you found, and you don't necessarily have all the money for a down payment, then you could actually get them to give you like 6 months worth of their rent or 3 months worth of their rent or whatever it is. You can have them loan you money and you can pay them back in some way or the other to help you with the down payment on the actual house. And so once you do that, then you go to a lender and you get approved for the home. Now, when these people move in, and say for instance you're in a really cool area, the house is really cool and renovated, and hypothetically speaking you're just renting it out, all bills paid, for $500 per room. I think you can rent it out for way more than that, but just for the sake of doing math in this equation, let's just do $500. And so you're out, say for instance $2,000 a month, and then you're renting out your 2 other rooms for $500 each, so $1,000 off. And so now you're paying $1,000 a month to live in this could be brand new home, but really a nice home in a really cool area with your friends, and the home consistently increases in value. Historically, over 100 years, has been about 3 to 4%. And so your home is increasing in value, just better than a lot of the stocks you can invest in. And at the same time, you have tax write-offs because you're renting out certain spaces. So if you know how to use the tax loopholes, you can write off the taxes as well. And lastly, you're going to be able to do the equity that's built in the home because of the other 2 people or 3 people living in the house. You can use that to help pay down your debt, and then you can refinance it later, which again we'll cover in a different video in the future because it's a little more advanced. So that's what house hacking generally is in a broad scope. Now, 2, how do you do it? And so, like I mentioned before in the previous one, is that you go and reach out to a lender. And it's a lot easier if you W-2. That basically means you're an employee. W-2 means you work twice as hard. I'm a 1099, and so it's twice as hard to get approved for a loan. But if you are a W-2, then you can, a lot of people that are teachers, people that are police people that are making $30,000, $40,000 a year, often just by that salary alone, they can get approved for $200,000, $250,000 house just by themselves. Again, say for instance you're with a partner, you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, then you guys can go in on the loan together and you can combine your incomes. Now, surprisingly, just because of all the things that are happening right now with, you can check out my Dallas real estate news updates, but a lot of the stuff that's happening with the feds and then lending practices are getting a lot looser. Scary so, but they're getting a lot looser with who they're willing to lend to. Sometimes you can even get approved for a loan that if you don't have any credit at all, and I mean no credit. And so there's all sorts of loan and lending models out there. So the first step is that you just get to a lender. And the lender is going to pre-approve you for a loan. And that's basically you just filling out a basic amount of questions, and then that lender telling you, based on what you told me, based on the amount of debt that you have, I'm going to qualify you off the top of my head, just running the basic numbers for, let's say for instance, $250,000, $300,000. Well, they're not going to give you a range. You're going to say $300,000. And so now you say, I have $300,000 to play with. And you can start with just buying the house by yourself or with your girlfriend, boyfriend, or you can go in it with your friends, just like we mentioned in the beginning of this video. So once you do that, now you can go with a real estate agent and you start looking for homes that fit that model. A really, really baller way to do it, if you're a single person and you just really don't mind having people in your space and really being uncomfortable for a little bit of time, there's a mentality basically is that I'm going to live uncomfortably for a few years of my life so I can live comfortably for the rest of my life. So if you're one of those people who are willing to self-sacrifice right now for the short term, for long-term gains, then a really cool method to house hack is if you find a house that's beautiful on the inside, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, but they have what's called an ADU or what's called a mother-in-law suite. And so it's basically like a tiny house in the backyard, and then you can live in that tiny house. And a lot of times it's going to only have like a bedroom and a bathroom. It's not going to have a kitchen, or it's going to have a bedroom and a kitchen, not a bathroom, something like that. It's never going to be perfect. But as long as you're able to basically make a little bit of sacrifices to come into the house to wash your laundry or to come into the house to cook some food or something like that, then what you could do is you can list your entire house, the 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house, 5-bedroom house, whatever it is, it's already been renovated on Airbnb, kind of like what I did, which I'll get into in a second. And then once you do that, now you get much higher output than individual rooms on Airbnb. Or if you're trying to rent out individual rooms to your friends, typically all bills paid is going to be the lowest amount of profitability you can do. But at the same time, you're living with your friends, which if you're a college kid, oh my God, you better do this. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. So that's what I would recommend if you want to turbocharge your house hacking. Live in the backyard in the small ADU / mother-in-law suite and rent out the entire house on something like Airbnb. So now that you know what it is, now that you know how to do it, let's talk about how I personally got involved in this. So in a video that I'll be posting, or at this point I've already posted, I don't know, but it's basically the breakdown on the Smurf house. This is the house that I bought, my first ever house. And so I was living in a high rise, and I basically was paying $1,700, something like that a month for like a 500 square foot box. I mean, didn't have any walls or anything. I just had a bed and then a couch, and then everyone walked in like, oh, this is so cool because you have floor to ceiling windows. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's not cool because I'm spending $1,700 a month, whatever it was, on a box, like a tiny little box, and I'm throwing it away in rent. Like if it was a condo, maybe it possibly could have made sense, possibly, but not really because HOAs. But no, it was just all going to rent. And so I went off and I found a really cool area of town, and then I bought a house right outside of that area of town, which if you're trying to do house hacking, I recommend this as well. Don't buy in the super hot areas, buy right outside of the super hot areas, because then the market growth is going to expand into those areas and you're going to see your home value skyrocket over the course of 10, 20, 30 years. So that's what I did for the Smurf house. And the Smurf house is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house, and I lived in one room. And then I rented out one room to a yoga instructor, hippie to the max, like spiritual elf little girl. She's awesome, by the way. Mary, if you're watching this, I miss you. You're awesome. But I rented out the room to her for like $700 a month, all bills paid. And then I rented out the other room, the spare room. I put 2 queen-size beds in there. And I rented that out on Airbnb, expecting around $700 a month, maybe. I was hoping and praying. Turned out that other room on the first month was doing like $500, $600, $700 a month. Second month, third month, around $1,000 a month. And then from then on out, it was always consistently $1,200 to $1,500 a month. And then if you add that to the $1,700 a month that I was getting with Mary's all bills paid, my overall mortgage for that $225,000 house, it was like $1,500, $1,550, something like that. And so I was actually getting paid to live in the house that I bought for the first time. The property value went up. I put some money into it, and overall it was a beautiful investment. Once Mary moved out, I replaced her. I was like, you know what, I'm making so much money on this Airbnb thing, I can just Airbnb out the other room. But another friend wanted to move in, so I was like, well, I don't need her to live here because I can just Airbnb out the other room. So I increased that rent on that room to $1,000. And so I had $1,000 in one room, all bills paid, and then like $1,200 to $1,500 a month in the other room. I was sitting pretty, and this was great. I was able to throw parties at this place, increase my social sphere and my social structure. I was having a great time. I recommend this for anybody and everybody. And then eventually she moved out, and then I rented out both rooms on Airbnb, but they're kind of competing with each other. And so since they're both single listings, then between the both of them, I averaged around $2,000 a month. But it wasn't as if one was $1,500 a month and the other one was $1,500 a month. I wish it was that way. It just didn't turn out that way. And so there is a cap and there is a peak to how much demand there is in a certain market area for the price that you're doing. So I was living that way for a while, Airbnb out both rooms, and I was living for free and getting paid to live, and I was like, this is amazing. I don't know why everybody doesn't do this. Now, what I started realizing though is that if I found there was an apartment deal in town that they gave us a lot of months for free, and it was a really sexy apartment. And so once I factored in how many months were free, my own commission on it, it turns out that apartment was only $1,000 a month. I started thinking to myself, okay, well, I didn't plan on this, but I'm making like $1,500 to $2,000 a month on this house with me living in it, and it's kind of weird having people in my space. It's hard for my dating life, and overall it's just kind of a pain in the butt, but it was worth it. Like, I totally recommend this. But if I spent $1,000 a month on the apartment, would that make sense to spend $1,000 extra a month to live but rent out the entire house? Now, I banked hard on this. There was no real valuable data. I just took a risk. So I moved out and listed the entire place on Airbnb. Now, since then, my property has been averaging around $3,000 to $3,500 a month. Sometimes it's $4,000 a month. And I've got out and have my own really sexy high-rise, just like I was before I started. So I started off at a sexy high-rise in a tiny little box with no house. Then I left for over like a year and a half, did all this, and went back to the tiny little box. Same scenario, saved myself a ton of money. Now I'm paying less for the apartment, and now I have this house that's generating income. And because it's generating so much income, the lenders look at me way more favorably, and so they give me a lot. They approve me for a significantly larger loan to buy another house. And so by doing the house hacking, I actually got approved to buy a second house. So even cooler. And now, because of this, the second house I got, last year I bought another house, and it was about $315,000, and now that one is bringing me in buku's amount of money, like $10K, sometimes $15K a month. And so that's the story for another day. That is my house hacking story. This is not a complicated story. Please understand, I am not smarter than you. I am barely smarter than the average dog that you see walking outside. Like, I'm kind of dumb. But I did figure out certain things that worked. And if I figure that out, you can too. I don't care if you're 21 years old or 51 years old. If you can implement the house hacking in your life, then that could seriously change your life. And to our final point, why do you need to know this? And why do you need to do this right now? If you currently are not a homeowner, even if you are a homeowner, to be honest, no matter what scenario you're in, unless you have like a wife or husband and kids, and you need a family unit, a strong family unit, then there's very little argument to why you're not house hacking right now. Especially if you do the ADU or whatever it is. This is one of the most important things for someone to learn when they're young. If you can stop renting as fast as possible, if you're young in your early 20s, or if you're on hardships and you're in your later years of life, then the easiest way to get out of whatever troubles you are is majority of people spend 30% or so of their personal income on their housing. Now, if you cut off all your housing, that gives you a 30% boost to your own finances. And so if you're giving yourself a 30% boost to your finances, what would that extra, whatever that is, like say for instance $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, what would that do for your life? I wonder how many comic books I can get for $1,500. God, I could buy so many toys with $1,500. Wow. $1,500, huh? $1,500, you say? So if you want to learn more about house hacking, make sure to check out my website at Seanrayrealty.com. Also, I have an Instagram at Seanrayrealty.com as well. I have many videos on there breaking down about my past investments, and it's kind of even some walkthroughs of some of my investment properties. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope this video has some value in your life. If you truly understood how to do this can get you out of renting, and it can be the first step to your early retirement, because that's really what I'm about here on this channel. And this real estate investing section of this channel is kind of my passion project. I really want to see how many of you I get to retire through this education I'm putting out here for free. I have no training. I never will have a training course. You'll never have to pay for any of this stuff. I really just am going to live for the likes and the comments on people that give me some positive feedback on this information. When did you start your first house hacking situation? How has it been going for you? And then from there, let's share some positive success stories. If you have any other questions, if you want me to go into more detail about anything I mentioned in this video, I need more content ideas, so feel free to put it in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to explore those in a future video. All right, thank you guys so much, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.